Hey, Boaz here with Next Pittsburgh. We're here at the Tropical Forest at Phipps. This is their Hawaii exhibit, and you're probably familiar with Phipps. I'm sure you've seen all the beautiful flowers on display, but did you know there are a ton of secret greenhouses? We're going behind the scenes on this installment of Yinzer Backstage Pass, and to show us around, we've got Lauren here, who I've already forgot your title. You're the greenhouse production manager, is that right?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yes, that is my title.
Well, thanks for having us, and I guess a lot of people don't know that for all the plants and, greenhouses at Phipps that they see, there's almost the same amount behind the scenes.
There definitely is. We have 8 production ranges in 16 different climate zones back here, so we're growing plants for all over the conservatory and holding things back. And we do a little bit of plant rehab back here too. So
Yeah, plant spa.
yeah.
Well, let's see something. Where's the first stop?
We're going to go down to Greenhouse B. So in Greenhouse B, we have a lot of our large collections items.
And just full disclosure, I volunteer at Phipps all the time. So normally Lauren tells me what to do, but today I get to interview her, so it's sort of fun.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just crazy that you have a giant tree storage area.
Yeah, so we get a lot of our big material from Florida. And we try to reuse as much of it as possible, so we're not having to constantly buy in new plants. These palm trees have been in here for quite some time, and we use them probably once a year in at least one show, maybe 2 or 3. So
let's say you're designing a new show. It's almost like this is like the library where you can pull stuff from, because you're like, okay, well, we want something big in this corner over here, so you'll go back and see what big trees do we have that we could stick back there.
yeah, absolutely. We try to plan as much as possible. So Jordan starts a year ahead of time with the design process. She is our in-house designer, and she does a fantastic job. So we'll often walk through the greenhouses to see what's available. And if we know a year in advance that we're going to be using these things, obviously we keep them. So this is what I'm talking about. We have 2 climate zones in this one range. So this is greenhouse range B, and then this is B1 that we're standing in, and B2 can be set if I need it to be set to a different climate condition.
In addition to storing some of these giant things, you're also growing things from seeds or cuttings here too.
Absolutely. We can go into the next house over if you'd like to see. Traditionally, we grow all of our spring annuals in here with a dabbling of some summer annuals, but we are prepping and getting ready for spring.
And so when does the spring show open?
In March.
So we're in January now, but it's 2 months away, and you've been working on it for how many months already?
Well, we've been planning this spring show for about a year.
Yeah.
I start ordering the tiny plants, so we start a lot of our plants from what we call a plug, which is a little teeny, maybe 1-inch diameter baby plant. And then we pot them up into the 6-inch pots that you see here. And so I start ordering those things in probably June. We're always at least 2 to 3 shows ahead of what's happening out in the display. So it does really take a lot of planning and coordination.
Wow. And then you also are growing way more plants than you need because some of them might not work out, or you might have to replace them during the show.
We don't often grow full extra crops for things because we are pretty limited with our space.
It's crazy that this is limited with space. I'm this is huge.
Yeah. I mean, you see an open bench here, but that's not going to be open for very much longer. We're starting to get our plant material in for summer show to pot up, so all of these benches will be occupied in a couple weeks. But most of the time we do grow about 20% extra, just in case there are some failures out in the conservatory. We can just come back here and swap them out real quick, which as a volunteer, I'm sure you've done many times. And one thing I want to point out, we are super lucky as well. We just got these LED lights installed probably 3 years ago. Prior to that, we didn't have any supplemental lighting except for the little bit back there. And this has allowed us, because they use so much less energy than traditional greenhouse lighting, this has allowed us to really up the quality of our spring show crops, because as you can imagine, trying to grow crops in the middle of a Pittsburgh winter with our light levels is pretty difficult.
So this is the plan that you create a year before the show, pretty much.
We have about 4 meetings to come up with the concept, go through the concept with all the different departments at Phipps, and then Jordan presents the final designs at the 4th meeting. Once the designs are finalized, then I get to work starting to order all the plants. So you actually see we're going to have plans for a big succulent topiary.
So this part's important for you here because you see like, okay, we need 125 of these tulips and 125 of these tulips.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of our starting point on what we know, how many plants we need for what areas, so we can grow to spec and we can grow the number that will fill that space.
Have you ever had a situation where like something weird happens and the plants just aren't available?
Yeah, that's another perk of having a designer in-house with us, because I can just yell across the office, "Hey, Jordan, they're out of these," and we'll come up with a suitable sub.
Is there one room you're specifically excited about for the spring show?
I always love the South Conservatory. So this is the plan for the South Conservatory. It's just so many colors. It's a real blanket of bulbs. It's always a really exciting changeover.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Now I'm really excited to see the spring show.
I am too. I'm always amazed. Like, I see it on the plan. We grow all the flowers. We see them in here, individually. But then once they're put together in with their intended purpose, it's always so exciting.
And you're probably familiar with the orchid room at Phipps, but this is where they keep some of the other orchids they've got in their collection. And to tell us more about it, we've got Giovanni Giraldi, who is the horticulturist responsible for the orchid collection here. Is that right?
That's correct. So, as you say, my name is Giovanni. I'm in charge of this collection. We have 3 houses with 3 different sets of temperatures. And my job consists of taking care of this collection and showing some of that to the public through our orchid display room. This collection is not just for showing, it's also because it's valuable. We take it to orchid shows. So, for example, this past weekend, I was in Washington. There was judging of orchids there. We got a couple that were judged, and we got 2 third places, 1 second place, 2 first places, and then we got a certificate of cultural excellence, which is the highest award that you can get with the American Orchid Society, with a specimen that had over 6,000 flowers. So
6,000?
6,000. The flowers are tiny, but so they put someone to go around counting them.
Can we see that one?
Yeah, it's in the next house. So with that plant, we got our highest score that we have ever had. So 95, which is pretty high. 95
Out of 100, I guess.
Out of 100.
Oh my gosh! So all these are little blooms.
Yeah, it's dendrochilum. Although it got recently reclassified as Silogene, it has quite a good number of flowers.
So when you're transporting a potentially award-winning plant, like how do you transport it to Washington, D.C.?
It's a lot of work. It involves packing them very carefully. You have to plan ahead on how you're going to put inflorescences so they don't get damaged on the trip. You have to drive very carefully. It's like driving with cakes. When I put them in the hotel room, I put them in the bathroom. I fill the tub with water to increase the humidity, and I hang them around and let them relax for a little bit before the show.
Do you know how many orchids you have in the collection here?
So we're in the middle of doing the inventory. Last time the inventory was done, we had a little bit over around 3,000 species. Well, 3,000 plants, I should say, not species.
And then there's another room of orchids still over there?
Yeah, so the next room is the cool greenhouse where we grow our plants that require cold for blooming, like cymbidiums. It's mostly plants that come either from the Andes or the Himalayas.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you immediately feel the temperature dropping. Gosh, it's cold in here. I should have brought my coat. Is it like a little scary being responsible for all these orchids?
Not so much. I guess at this point I feel confident enough that I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But the sheer size was a bit scary at the very beginning. It was like, oh wow, I have to take care of 3,000 orchids. It's not anymore like a small collection. This is a sizable collection. It's like one of the most important collections of sleeper orchids in North America and in fact the world. Being in charge of that was a bit terrifying, but other than that, no. I guess at this point I'm more confident on what I'm doing and I feel quite good at it.
Well, Giovanni, thanks so much for the tour, and we'll let you get back to tending to your 3,000 orchids because it seems really busy.
Thank you.